Guys, it feels like ages since I have done anything on this channel, which is the absolute truth. I have just been super busy with work. I am now commuting from Manchester to Blackpool every day. It has just been absolute chaos. But a big thank you to Rich and Maria for keeping the Women's Football Review going, and then for the incredible coverage of the Women's Euros so far, and everybody that's been involved, all the guests that have been on, everyone involved in the watch-alongs. It is brilliant, and it is brilliant to see so many men who are watching, are invested, are interested, and are supporting the Women's Euros. So on Wednesday, I was lucky enough, well, I wasn't really lucky because it was at Old Trafford, but I was lucky enough to get to see the opening game to the Women's Euros, England versus Austria. Now, from the moment we stepped into the stadium, the atmosphere was absolutely rocking. It was incredible. The dancers, the flags, the fireworks, everything was brilliant. The noise was incredible. There was clearly two sections full of school children, which was amazing, because introducing the women's game to children gets it in there early, it normalizes it early, it gets them invested, it gets them interested. And we've always said, especially on the Women's Football Review, that the women's game is a great introduction to football, especially for those that are quite sensitive to noise, that might not like huge crowds. But on Wednesday, the crowd was huge and the noise was absolutely incredible. The opening ceremony was brilliant. The dancers, a mixture of male and female dancers, which was brilliant to see, because I think sometimes when it involves the women's game, everyone tends to be female, which is obviously important. It's important to get more females involved in the opening ceremonies, in the games, but we also need men to be interested and young boys to be interested in watching and learning about women's football too, because it can't become equal and it can't be on that same playing field unless everyone is involved and everyone is representing the women's game. So the lineup for me was not the best starting 11 that England could have put out. I would have played Williamson in her usual sweeping role, and I would have also started Ella Toone more for her pace than anything. I absolutely love Ellen White. She is an incredible player, and obviously as a City fan, I love her so much. However, it was evident for me on Wednesday night's game that her pace is not what it used to be. Obviously, she is getting older, and I think in further games to come down the line, especially after watching some of the other games this week, we really will need that pace up front. The game started off slowly. I've got my notes on my phone so I don't just ramble on. And I thought that Austria at times were rampant through England's midfield, and then our defence was lacking that stability. Lucy Bronze, however, I thought throughout the whole game was absolutely magnificent. She was creating chances. She was really giving so much pace to the game, the creativity that she brings to the game, those runs forward, that is what I was trying to say before, those runs forward that she just does. She brushes everybody aside. She is magnificent, and I thought she ran the show on Wednesday. Absolutely incredible. And for me, she was my player of the match. She was pushing forward, picking up the ball, creating those chances, getting those balls in. And I also thought her, along with Millie Bright, were a masterclass. I absolutely love Millie Bright, and she made a couple of great clearances. A great goal from Beth Mead in the 16th minute. Slight deliberation with VAR for the offside afterwards. However, it was given, and that was the goal of the game. Beth Mead, for me, is an incredible player, and I did a player spotlight on her in one of the very first Women's Football Review episodes. Austria did pick up in the second half and had some great attacking moments, but England stood strong in their defence. However, I do think that, like I said before, England need to regroup. Defence needs to be stronger. The midfield needs to be a lot tighter, because coming up against Norway eventually, and some of the other teams that have had absolutely incredible starting games, we are going to need to play 10 times the level that we played on Wednesday night. When Ella Toone did come on, she showed what an exciting player she is, and I thought she actually helped to change the game. Lauren Hemp for me also was absolutely incredible. Her pace is invaluable to any team that she is in. She is incredible. However, for me, like I've said before, it wasn't England's best performance. It was a good, solid game. They saw the game out, but Austria were not out of that game at any point for me. And I think we need to regroup. We need to tighten up. We need to shore up. And I want to see our strongest starting 11. We have Demi Stokes, Nikita Paris, who are all on the bench. Ellie Roebuck, for me, should be England's starting goalkeeper, but Mary Earps was incredible. I think the goalkeeping situation is a really, really hard decision to make, and I am biased because of Manchester City, but I think most importantly for me would be taking White out of the starting lineup and replacing her with Ella Toone, more for pace than anything else. You could see that Ellen White was absolutely exhausted even 4 minutes into the second half. She is an incredible player, but as she gets older, I think she's a great substitute. But we need to start with that attacking pace straight away. It was amazing to see a record-breaking crowd for an opener of a Women's Euros game. And I think if I'm right to say, the Germany game was another record-breaking crowd, and it was the highest crowd number for a non-host nation game in the Women's Euros tournament. I think that's right, which again was incredible to see. That atmosphere was brilliant. It was a great opening fixture, and it was brilliant to see so many men supporting the women's team too. There were so many men, especially in the age bracket, I would say 20 to 40. So many young men who were there, not just because, oh, it's a bit of football, but we were genuinely interested in the women's game. They knew the players. They were completely invested. They had their shirts on. It was brilliant to see that they were actually there because they had an actual interest in the women's team and in the Women's Euros. And it's brilliant because, like I've said before, you can't have equality if the women's game is just full of women and we don't actually have any men, because obviously men's voices are unfortunately louder in sport. At the minute, the women's voices are being heard more, but to get us heard more, we need men to help us push the women's game to a new level. And I think for England especially, I really pray that England kick on in this tournament and hopefully get to the final and hopefully win, because I think especially in England that will do wonders for the women's game. And all England games are actually sold out for the rest of the tournament, which is a really, really good and positive sign. This is exciting. This Women's Euros has come at a brilliant time as well, because there's no men's international football. Obviously, there's no football. So people will watch the games, and I'm hoping that they see that it is fast. It is exciting. There is great, incredible skill on show. And that the only difference is that it's women playing it, but it's still football and it's still exciting. It still has the drama. It still has everything that you get from the men's game. And I really hope that this tournament does take the women's game to that next level, because you saw it in the Champions League, the Women's Champions League, the sold out game. I think it was at the Nou Camp. I've probably got that wrong. But the sold out game at the Nou Camp, it is happening in other countries. And I think here we just need that extra push. And I know there's been a lot of conversation. Maybe drop a comment with what you think. But the conversation about the fact that there is games being played at Man City Academy and at Lee Sports Village. But for me, I'd rather the games at the minute be played at smaller venues and sold out. And a lot of the games are sold out, and I would rather them be. I think most of the games I went on the other night are sold out. It's just the ones that are in like Sheffield and Southampton that maybe are a bit further away. But for me, I'd rather see packed, smaller stadiums to help that atmosphere, to then help the excitement around the game, to then help the elevation. And then once the game has started to elevate, then we can pack out more of the bigger stadiums. But to see Old Trafford even though I hate Old Trafford, obviously, but to see Old Trafford packed like that for a women's game was absolutely incredible. So please, please, please watch. Please, please, please get invested. Please just see how incredible the women's game is, and it deserves the recognition that we are trying to get. And please, please subscribe to the Women's Football Review for next season, because it's going to be back and it's going to be bigger, and I'm actually going to be present finally. So thank you very much for watching, and I think my player of the tournament to watch out for will be Ella Toone, because I think this is where she can, obviously everyone who knows the women's game knows her, but I think this is where she could really cement herself, because she is absolutely incredible. And please drop comments of who you think is your player to watch for the tournament, because that'll be a really interesting discussion to have, and then see how their teams progress. Thank you guys, and enjoy the rest of the Women's Euros.